Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Just wanted to make two quick announcements. In recent events with, California and the wildfire that they had, I wanted to interview a firefighter. Now, this firefighter works in Florida, which, if you can't already guess, is on the other side of the country from where the event took place. But I think it's important to understand what exactly firefighters go through and how chaotic their lives can be from a day-to-day basis. It's good to have a good understanding of what exactly they have to go through, and how better to understand that than to actually talk to someone who actually has experienced that field. So other than that, the second announcement is that I appreciate it. We've almost made it to 10 subscribers, so thank you for the support and appreciation. Let's keep on hitting that like button. Make sure to not miss, but hit that like button and continue to subscribe. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So first and foremost, if you don't mind, could you please introduce yourself?
My name is Kareem Scott-Koby. I'm an assistant chief over training professional standards for Alachua County Fire Rescue in Gainesville, Florida.
Right. And my first question is, what are the responsibilities that someone would have in fire rescue?
Oh, that's a loaded one. I guess it's position dependent. Fire departments usually go based off of a rank structure and positions on a unit. So ranks in my department usually start at the bottom with firefighter being the lowest position, and then you have firefighter paramedics. You have driver operators or driver engineers, you have lieutenants or captains, battalion chiefs or division chiefs, and then assistant chiefs and deputy chief, and then the fire chief. So it's kind of got this hierarchy based off of units and positions. But general responsibilities of all of us, we're all considered firefighters. It's kind of responding to emergency calls, saving life, protecting property, and mitigating hazard. So that is kind of an all-encompassing response to what we have to do on a daily basis. There's really no specific, I don't know how to put this, like no specific category we fall in, because we just handle emergencies. So whatever that emergency is, from a toe pain, a paper cut, a cat in a tree, to a vehicle accident with people entrapped, to chest pains, strokes, diabetic emergencies, to suicide attempts, gunshot victims, structure fires, drownings, anything. So it's kind of a all hazards kind of environment.
What are the most common types of emergencies that you guys receive amongst all of those?
On the medical side. The medical side of the business is probably 80, 90% of the job. When I say medical side, I'm involved in like paramedics and EMTs and responding to medical emergencies like chest pains, asthma attacks, diabetic emergencies, mental health issues. The medical portion is essentially where we make the most impact. I think we get glorified as being, fighting fire, but that's really the smallest part of the job. It's the job where we can get the most hurt. That's the part that if we're not prepared for that, it can get us in more life involving problems. But when it comes to the majority of the 911 calls, it's for the medical side of the business.
So what are the qualifications that someone should expect before joining, an organization like this, becoming a firefighter themselves? Is there like a specific, school requirement? You have to be out of high school, got to go to college. What is it?
Okay, so it is state dependent. So every state might have different requirements. But for the state of Florida, you've got to be at least 18 years old, have a high school diploma to be able to obtain the certifications that are needed for the position. So the bare minimums for firefighters for most paid departments is to have a firefighter minimum standard certification after high school and also an emergency medical technician certification. Both of those take about a college semester apiece to obtain. A lot of community colleges are the places that offer these programs. So you sign up for those just like you would for any college level course. It is very both book intensive and labor intensive, especially for the fire school portion. So most schools have physical requirements or physical abilities tests that you have to pass prior to being accepted in the program. Because on the fire side, we have to be able to wear 50 pounds worth of bunker gear and lift another 30, 40, 50 pounds worth of equipment on top of being able to manage our own body weight. So being physically fit is a major part of just being a firefighter. And then some of the requirements for emergency technician, medical technician certification include like basic life support certs or a BLS CPR card. Some programs will want you to get some medical terminology training or take a first responder course, would give you like a baseline when it comes to general emergency response on the medical side. But it is very much state dependent. Like ours, there's no age max to get into the fire service. It's can you obtain the certifications and can you pass the physical abilities tests? If you can pass those, well, they'll hire a 65-year-old man just like they would hire an 18, 19-year-old man. Some states, that's not the case. Some there's like a window. You have to be between 18 and 30 to enter into the business. But for Florida, that's not the case.
So, making that jump between, getting out of community college and finally getting that certification, what
Mhm.
should someone expect once they finally get into this career?
Okay, so once you obtain the certifications, that's kind of what is your ticket to start applying to most places. There are some departments, including myself, that have struggled with hiring. There's just not enough available firefighters on the market. So a lot of places have started to certify their own civilians in-house or pay for them to obtain the certs to give people more of an incentive to come join the fire department, because going to get those certifications, it's an enormous amount of time required during those 2 semesters. Those programs sometimes 4 or 5 days a week, and it's difficult to maintain a home life or to have any other form of employment during obtaining those certs. So some departments are hiring people without anything and then sending them to schools to obtain it themselves. But a vast majority want you to have those certs prior to applying. There's one more cert that is kind of the gold standard. It's what every fire department wants, is a paramedic certification. Paramedic takes about a year to obtain by itself after obtaining your EMT. So you have to do EMT first, finish that, become certified to even be accepted in a paramedic program. But that's what if I could hire as the training chief, if I could hire nothing but firefighter paramedics, I would. Because like I said, the medical side of what we do is the most used, and that higher level of education allows you to be a little more versatile when we respond on these calls. But once you get the minimum certs, you start applying. Obviously, you're competing with other people to apply. Everybody has different requirements for applications. Some have different documents they want you to attach. Some want you to have some level of experience prior to applying. Some have different physical abilities tests based off of what region or city they're in. So it's very departmental dependent what those requirements are. Some will also make people take a written exam. Some have psych evaluations, the physical abilities tests. Then most people have some form of an interview to make the decisions on who they want to hire at the end. And once those people are chosen, you go through some form of orientation or kind of an introduction to how we do things as a fire department, and to give you the basic tools and skills you'll need to be successful to operate on your own.
Yeah.
Then you're assigned to a unit and given a probationary period, which usually lasts a year, where you are evaluated throughout the year on varying skills and abilities that we consider to be bare minimums for the firefighter position. And after that year, we test all of those firefighters out on those minimum requirements to make sure they have a full understanding of all of those qualifications. And then after a probationary year, you're considered like a full-time firefighter to start either trying to obtain more education to promote or get more involved in the department to kind of advance your skills.
So what would a normal day for a firefighter look like? I don't know if it's always hectic or not. Like, is it always chaos, or do you have your calm days and your hectic days?
So that's also department dependent and station dependent, and it's very geographical. So it depends on where your station is located. It depends on what's in your city or in your town. For example, Gainesville, Florida, it's a college town. It's basically UF that is what fills a majority of this area. So with UF comes all that UF brings when it comes to football and basketball and the students and the population and professors and travel from other organizations, other schools to come and compete here. So we have busier times when there are more students, but that could be different for a place like, I don't know, Atlanta. During the holidays might be a busier time. During New Year's, different events and stuff that go on throughout the year might bring in more people. With more people usually comes more emergencies. And then your ambulance units or your rescue units typically get more calls than a fire truck or a fire engine would get. So those are typically more busy and run more emergency calls. Most departments, not all, but most work on a shift basis. So it's basically 24 hours on and then 48 hours off. So you basically work one day, off two. Come
Okay.
back, you work another one, you're off two. So you're living at a fire station for a day. You get a bed, you get a bunk, we cook dinner, we eat together, sleep together, run calls together. Whatever happens throughout that day is with the crew that we're assigned to. So if it's an 8 a.m. start, usually considers coming in, making sure your uniform's in order, relieving whoever that is that was on the truck the day before, and then checking out your unit and your equipment to make sure your truck works, everything's on it, you know where it is, how to use it, what it does, basically prepping to make sure when the tones go off that everything you have on the truck is operational. And then throughout the day, you might be assigned to training that needs to be completed or some sort of special event. Sometimes we'll get posted as standbys for a high school football game or for a concert or something. Sometimes we'll give units that have to basically provide medical services for those throughout the day. Or you're just waiting for the tone to go off in your station. And tone goes off, we get what kind of call it's going to be, and we show up to handle whatever emergency that is. A lot of people don't understand that most agencies, especially in the state of Florida, are cross-trained. So we're firefighter EMTs or firefighter paramedics. So it doesn't matter if I'm on an ambulance or on a fire truck, I can still, fight fires. I can be on an ambulance today, get dispatched to a structure fire, and pull my bunker gear off of the ambulance and fight fire. And vice versa, I can get dispatched to a chest pain on a fire engine and pull off the medical equipment off the truck and be able to do the same things that they can do on an ambulance, except transport. So we are waiting for an ambulance to get there so that we can transport those patients. But everybody's got the ability to kind of do both sides of the job.
Well, with how constantly busy, firefighters are, having to deal with all these emergencies, what's one of the more memorable or chaotic events that you personally experienced?
Man, I can take that in so many different directions. So I don't know that I want to get that detailed with that, but let's just put it like this. When it comes to memories, the most memorable ones are usually when it comes to a fire scene, it's the biggest amount of fire or the largest structure. Or if you've got an actual save, like you physically rescued somebody out of that building. those are the fires that you're going to remember the most because a lot got accomplished, right? But on the flip side of things, some of the most memorable calls I've been on are when people died. So it's a different type of memory, but we can run some very traumatic situations and where people are put in positions that a normal human body is not supposed to be in, or I've done CPR on a child, or responded to suicide attempts, or a mangled family in a van on I-75 during graduation. So I can go on for days about memories and some of the more impactful calls that I've had, but most of those are due to the traumas that were in that call. That is a part of the fire service that we struggle with, is the mental health aspect of what we see and what we do.
Now, not to push too much because I don't want to push any further than that, but how, speaking to any other type of firefighter, how would you go about mentally, stabilizing yourself in those type of situations? Because I know that trauma, it's really tough to deal with, and
Right.
nobody wants to experience that.
I think because originally, when I first started this about 15 years ago, I didn't understand what that even meant. I didn't really understand how much the mental aspect of this job affects firefighters until I started running calls of my own and like experiencing it. And there were not a lot of tools or accepted practices for us to be able to release that stress. And it was very macho environment early on in my career where mental health was tied to being weak. And that has changed a lot in the fire service because I think we finally realized that we become really good at fighting fire and
Mhm.
not dying in fires anymore. But we started seeing suicide rates that were higher than us dying in structure fires. So it's like, okay, this is an obvious problem. Really, with us, it's for my agency, it's very peer driven mentorship and evaluation of us, that we have an avenue to talk to people that know exactly what we're experiencing immediately after those calls happen. If I run a 2-year-old pediatric drowning and I've got a 2-year-old at home, how does that affect me for the rest? And that was 4 hours into my shift. I've still got another 20 to go. How does that affect me moving forward? Can I still operate on my unit and treat the next call with just as much as importance as I just treated that one? And a lot of departments have peer support teams and like stress debriefings and stuff after major incidents so that we can at least kind of decompress a little and decide whether we're fit to keep going. Another program my department started to initiate was peer support dogs. We've got about 5 or 6 dogs that are within our department, that are a part of our agency, that are just for us. They're
Mhm.
not search and rescue dogs. They're not, we don't take them on calls. They're assigned to people in the station and are there for our mental benefit. It's kind of amazing what a dog can do to a room. Just a presence, right? That's why you have a lot of like cancer hospitals where children and stuff, they take dogs because it can completely uplift a room and change a thought process just by petting a dog. So that's kind of become a little more prevalent in the fire service. Also, taking care of our health, and we have a lot of people that are look at fitness as a way of making sure we can run the fires, but it's a lot more than that. If I'm physically fit and I'm paying attention to my health, it kind of all equates to a better lifestyle. And it helps prevent us from turning to bad habits when I've got something that I can pay attention to outside of the negativity that surrounds some of the stuff we have to see. If I can focus on my physical fitness and my health and my mental well being, I won't turn to alcohol and drugs or mistreatment of my family and my loved ones. So, just giving us more avenues to release that stress has become a lot more of an easier access to it on duty and off duty. So where it's not taboo, it's not considered a weakness to say, I need some help. Like I don't know how to handle what I just saw. Can somebody help me navigate it? It's a lot more accepted.
Absolutely. And that's a lot of stress to be dealing with. By no means do I believe that being a firefighter is a easy job. But on that topic, with how much stress that you guys experience, what's your personal motivation that makes you continue doing this job? Because that's a lot to deal with every single day.
Yeah, I did not think I would be doing this for a living. It was not my dream to be in the fire service. I went to University of Florida and I graduated with a construction degree, and I wanted to build homes for a living. I'm kind of burning them down now, but when I graduated was in 2009 when the economy crashed, and I had a friend of mine that had family in the fire service, and he had an engineering degree and was like, "Hey, I'm thinking about going in the fire service. You should try it. What do you got to lose?" I wanted to be able to build homes. I've been homeless before. My mind, if I can build my own house, can't nobody take it from me. And when I couldn't do that, I was like, "Well, how do I help people now?" That's what I want to do for a living. I just want to help people in general. And I did not know that was pretty much all this job was until I started doing it. Every single time the tones go off, I have an opportunity to completely impact somebody else's life. And I fell in love with that side of it. Regardless of what I had to see or do or endure, the smallest action of a firefighter can change somebody's worst moments into a positive memory. It gave me an opportunity to intervene for someone. And I don't know that there's a better career to where every day that's exactly what you're doing every time you go out on a call. There's not many career fields that are that rewarding all the time. I fell in love with that feeling, I guess. And then the bonds that we create within the fire service are extremely unique with the people that we work with. There's not many career fields where you can say, I literally eat, sleep, work out, run calls, play around, off duty, on duty, all with complete strangers, and risk my life with them all at the same time. And it kind of forces us to have a second family within our own families. So I really enjoy that extension of my family. And the fact that when I come to work, I loved coming to work because I got to hang around with my brothers and sisters for 24 hours at a time, goof around, and then when the tones go off, we get up, we kick ass for whatever that is, and high five at the end, or talk about maybe what we could have did better or how it affected us. Like it's like a sports team on the job. Legitimately is what it is. It's like a little small football team that where we train and practice together daily to go out and perform like a football game.
Mhm.
We've all got positions, we've got jobs that we have to do so that the next person can be successful so that we can accomplish a goal. I've always been, somebody plays sports, basketball and stuff like that. It just meshed right with that. I felt like it was the same environment. Now somebody's paying me to do this. And then as I climb through the ranks, you start to see the importance of the relationships you create, and in the position I'm in as a training chief, as more of an administrator. Basically, I'm not running the calls like I used to all the time out in the street. I'm more of an asset for the firefighters that are running the calls. And now I get to impact their lives. I get to be able to improve them as people, improve their abilities and skills on the job so that they can do more for the citizens we serve. So it's just another way of helping somebody no matter where you're at in the fire department. We don't make a lot of money. We make a decent amount of money. It's
Mhm.
a governmental job, right? So anything in government is very political, it's very geographical, it's based off of population as far as what your salary looks like, or sometimes what political environment you're in is very subject to change. So it's people don't get in the fire service to get rich. But at the same time, usually when people get in the fire service, they never leave. So I think that says a lot about the business itself. We're a blue collar job, but a very unique blue collar environment that a lot of people don't even know what we do. They don't know the aspects of the job. They just think we put out fires and play video games. Like it's like and TV doesn't do us justice. Like it kind of glorifies what we do in a sense, but it doesn't fully explain everything. So it leaves us with this mystery, which can be good sometimes, and sometimes it can be bad because people don't understand everything. But there's a lot of different aspects of this job that I found a lot of value in, and it just allowed me to be able to help people, man. That's all I wanted to ever do was help people, and it opened up all kinds of doors for me to be able to do that.
Well, I was wondering what's one like motto or quote that you live by, and what does it mean to you?
I have one that has carried me through a lot of situations in my life, and especially in the fire service, is the whole faith over fear type of motto, and believing in my faith that when I make decisions, I can make them without fear because there's a higher power that's going to guide me through whatever result I receive. And I've used that in so many different areas of my life that has kind of empowered me to take some leaps of faith when it came to a career or when it came to a relationship or a promotional test or signing up for something or taking a class, going back to school. Like I've got to have some level of faith to take that leap, that even if I fail at this, it was for a purpose. And that quote has given me a lot of strength to be able to not only push myself, but to push my family and to push the people that I work with, my coworkers, and encourage people to have that same level of confidence. When you've got a confidence that you feel there's a God watching over you, people are capable of anything. And in this business where I have to sometimes risk my life to do things, I find it difficult to not have faith.
Absolutely. And to end it off with one last question,
Um,
you fight a lot of fires and stuff. What's your
mhm.
personal perspective on the situation that's been happening in California?
Well, for one, I mean, California is always on fire. Every year, California burns to some extent. It's very based off of the terrain that they have and the climates that they experience over there. And their dry season is they're already normally dry.
Mhm.
So when they get into drier seasons like now, it just elevates the level of flammability for that entire state. And it sucks, man. They're that to me, Cal Fire, anywhere in California, as far as a fire department, God bless those people because they deal with that all the time. It is very bad right now for them. It's hitting a lot of more affluent areas, which I think is what is makes this one so unique, as it's going into some heavily populated places and that are affecting now both poor people and rich people. Like it kind of elevated that limelight based off of the location that's burning now. But it's
Mhm.
not new. This is not something that only happened right now.
Yeah.
This is every single year. So it's a problem that has continued to exist. It can be tied to so many different things. I said I wholeheartedly believe, my personal opinion. I'm no expert because I'm not there, but that their terrain and the changes to the climate have aided in how intense it is over there. And I mean, all of us are experiencing longer dry periods and more intense dry periods due to some of the changes in weather and climate. And they're just, I think, experiencing aftermath of that. And I don't know that anybody's at fault. It's just something that I think as a whole, the whole country will need to continue to adapt to. Because we experience wildfires in Florida, but we have a lot more moisture here than California. And it rains a little more here, but over there, that's not the case. It's not as humid as it is here, and their dry spouts are for way longer. So I feel for them, and fire departments all over the country are trying to help them, but there's this is going to be really difficult to control. And it's going to take a lot of resources to be able to try to get ahead of all of that that's happening there, and abilities for us to kind of help as a country. when it comes to helping them with what happens next, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't know how much they're going to be able to slow it until it dies down on its own.
Well, I appreciate you having this interview with me. We don't have too much time left. So, once again, thank you for having this interview, and this was great.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Anytime, man. I hope everything works out for you.